Hey there everyone, it's Craig and I'm back with another drawing video. Today's video isn't really about like lessons and stuff. I'm just going to be inking and colouring this drawing that I've done of Kukaku from Bleach. And might give some pointers along the way, just talk about some stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm going to refocus the camera here, so we'll start up somewhere along the top here. And I'll start moving it down as I get into it. Probably will be some time lapse and some skipping and stuff like that, just because one, it takes a while to do the whole thing, and two, I'm recording my DSLR, and that can only record for a certain amount, like certain periods at a time. So there will be some pausing and skipping and stuff like that. So anyway, let's get into it. Alright, so I'm going to start on the head here. I started just a little bit, these couple of lines here. You probably can't see it too well because of how dark the pencil is. Just to see which kind of fine line I wanted to go through. And here I'm using the Pigram Micron 03. Not too thick, not too thin. And I'll probably go over a few of these lines later on to try and darken them a bit, because that's how they are on the original drawing. So yeah, let's get on with it. First time I've ever tried doing a video like this, and it's a little bit it's a bit difficult trying to draw with like the camera in front of me, but also just it's difficult because like I said, something I've never done before. So yeah, we'll see how it goes and see if it's something that I want to keep doing in the future. Just gonna move this camera strap out of the way. Now this is actually the first time that I'm using these Pigram Microns to do a full drawing as well. Up to now I've just kind of dabbled with them and stuff like that. Like, I haven't actually gone and done a full drawing with them. But as you can see, my sketching style is very, very messy. I should really like try and clean them up a bit more, but it's kind of difficult because it's just the way that I've started learning how to draw and stuff like that. And I'm kind of set in my way, so that's a bit difficult to get out of the habit. But yeah, maybe one day I'll stop. This is also kind of difficult as well, because this is it's a full page, and I want to be able to try and move the page a bit, but at the same time I don't want to be doing that too much, because that's gonna make it quite difficult for the camera to keep up and to focus and stuff like that. Although my hands are probably in the way quite a lot of this, so I don't know. Like I say, we'll see how it looks. And yeah, sorry about that. I had to cut the video there because my dogs were barking quite loudly, which is something that will probably happen continuously during this video. But not a lot I can do about that. So anyway, I was going to talk a little bit about why I decided to do this drawing. As I mentioned in the other video, I do like to do Bleach drawings. There's something about the manga style, the anime style. It's very, I don't know. I think it's an interesting style to learn. Yeah, it's the kind of style that I like to go for quite a lot. I like to do comic book drawings as well. So if you're looking for real life drawings, stuff like that, like actual people and places and stuff, I'm afraid you'll probably have to look elsewhere for that, because yeah, manga, anime, comic book style, I just think it's interesting to draw things that aren't realistic, kind of supernatural, superhuman stuff like that. But yeah, I decided to do this drawing because it was a character that I've never drawn before, and also looking at a lot of the covers that I've done and that I've still got to do, this one was probably like one of the more colourful ones. It had an interesting pose as well, because she's like I think she's supposed to be like jumping or something, or like about to jump, or has just landed, but I don't know, I thought it looked kind of interesting. I was going to do Bleach Volume 4 instead, which is Uryu, but it's like, I'd like to say the pose wasn't as interesting, and also the colours are a bit more, they're a bit more bland. They were just like brown and grey. And like I said, looking at a lot of the other covers, it's just a lot of, if it's like one of like the the Soul Reapers, then they're wearing black, and it's a lot of black. Or if it's you know, like one of like the villains or something like that, it's a lot of white, a lot of grey. So I figured, yeah, I'll do this one because this one's you know, there's, I mean, obviously she's showing like quite a lot of skin, but it's very reflective. She's got like the red. She's got this weird thing going on with her arm over here. Not really sure what that's about. But yeah, I thought it was, she's like an interesting character. Not really sure, like, they put her in the show and the comic, and then she helps them like quite a bit in the first like series. Well, it's like the second series in the show. And then she just is like never in it again, considering she's like a fairly important character at the time. You know, you think she would be in it a lot more. But then that's kind of the way Bleach is. It kind of like brings things into the story and then quickly gets rid of them. So yeah, some of these lines need to be a little bit longer. But that's a good thing with these kind of areas, like up here, I had to correct a bit of a mistake. I needed this line to be a bit thicker. But because this is all going to be black with without any highlights, I can get away with making little mistakes like that. And I've got the actual book over here, so just making sure that I'm getting everything right. Yeah, as I said, this would be a lot easier if I wasn't doing it like this kind of video, because trying to, you know, I like to be quite close to the paper. I like to be able to turn it so you're not, it's like this like bend of the wrist a lot of people talk about, and it's, yeah, it's something you want to, not focus on, but you want to keep in mind that you want to always be doing like smooth motions with your hand. You don't want to be doing like awkward angles and stuff like that, because you're going to get, you know, really weird lines coming out of it, and they're not going to be as smooth as they could be. So, something to keep in mind. And also, like I say, making your sketches nice and clean and easy to follow is always good, but yeah, I don't think it's something I'm ever really gonna get out of. So yeah, still doing the hair. Made the line there on her eyelid just a little bit thick, so that was just because I was kind of just going over it and not really paying attention to what I was doing. So that happens now and again. What was I going to say? There was something, but then I ended up making that mistake and trying to fix it and stuff. That was it. Trying to make some of these lines not too thick and precise, because I'm going to end up coming back in once the colour's down and sorting them out. So things like her eyelashes and her eyebrows, stuff like that, like I'm going to end up coming back in and fixing them, polishing them up a bit once the colour's down. I'm like looking at the actual drawing, and the shape of her head is kind of weird, but a lot of it is because it's mainly covered by her hair and these weird bandages. So it's kind of interesting to look at. So we've got the side of her head here. Just very lightly going over this side, not to make too many mistakes, because like I said, this side over here is very, very messy. She's got a bit more bandage coming down here. And then this piece as well, but I'll get her hair in first. Try not to go over this. I think it's a cigarette, I'm not quite sure. Especially this ball thing, I have no idea what that is. And just gonna put in this piece of bandage coming off. Yeah, you notice this is something I'm gonna make a video about, but you notice that like with these shonen characters, even like the women, they all have very spiky hair. They're not like, nobody really has kind of like long flowing hair. It's always very spiky or very boxy. So yeah, that's something to think about if you're ever like doing your own characters in this style. Yeah, the next video I'm gonna do is gonna be about it's kind of tips how to draw faces and hair and stuff like that, and also like ways to differentiate age and also genders, because it's all stuff that I've just learnt from doing drawings like this, and also just looking at the covers and the characters and stuff like that. Because I mean, I've seen a lot of people on the internet say that you can't learn anything from doing fan art and just like stuff like that, which I think is bizarre, because how are you going to learn if you're not looking at you know, professional drawings and stuff like that? It's bizarre, because fan art is just you know, it's using reference, and yeah, like I said, a lot of people on the internet as well also don't think you're a proper artist if you use reference, which is just, I don't understand that mentality at all. I think they mean like using reference like other people's work, but there's references everywhere. If you look at something in real life and draw it, that's a reference, you know, a life drawing and stuff like that. That is a type of reference, but that's considered fine. But doing something, you know, where you're using professional work or something like that, that's frowned upon apparently. Not by everyone. Not everyone has that mentality. Just a minority of people. I don't really understand it, like I say. So I'm nearly done with her head here, and these weird things coming out of my mouth. So this is a cigarette of some kind, and this is, I'm not sure what it is. When I first saw it, I thought it was kind of like a flower or something, but then looking at the actual drawing a bit closer, it's like a ball of wool or bandages or something. It's really, really weird. Put in some lines for her ears, even though these are all going to be, this is going to be very darkly shaded and coloured, so I'm just kind of putting in some very loose and basic lines. And I might as well put this thing in whilst I'm here. Well, drawing circles is always a bit tricky, drawing perfect circles. Something that I don't think, you know, it's not something you can really teach. I think it's just something you just have to keep trying. Like this, that's not a perfect circle whatsoever, but it's close enough. And I'll put in the smoke trail now. Things like this smoke trail and stuff like that, like, you don't really need to be too precise and too, you know, like sticking to the actual drawing, because I mean it's a smoke trail. It's not something that needs to be like thought out. So I'm just basically like letting my wrist just kind of jerk all over the place here and get some kind of fluid motion going. And I'll go to about there. I'll do the rest of it afterwards because it's just a little bit more. So, yeah, I'm making some progress. Yeah, I was watching, I think, is it Mike Kazumi? He's an artist on YouTube. And he was on about how this stage of the drawing process is just kind of like kicking back and relaxing in it. And it is, because at this point, pretty much all of the hard work goes into the drawing and the pose and stuff like that, like the pencils. So at this point, you basically just, I don't know, it's kind of like a dot to dot kind of thing. You just join it all together, and it's not really too difficult. Although I do find myself changing things just slightly when I'm doing this stage. I've started doing some of the shading there, and that's not something I want to start doing now, because if I go in and do the shading on her neck, and then I do the colour over it, it's going to be very messy and it's going to be like, I don't know, it's just not going to look right. Alright, sorry about that. I had to go and change the battery because I forgot to charge it after the last video. And I was recording for quite a while in that one, so not surprising that it's ran out. I am just the apex of professionalism, apparently. But, yeah, not too big of a problem, because I'm going to be moving down soon anyway, so I'll just start doing this here. It's like weird. I'm not even sure you could call this a shirt. It's just like kind of, not even sure what it is. It's just kind of like wrapped around her. Yeah, I find watching videos like this and just drawing in general is very relaxing, so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do it. Sure a lot of people feel the same way. I'm sure a lot of people think it's weird or boring or something. Yeah, definitely will have to move the camera down in a moment here. I'll just put in a few more lines so I know whereabouts I am. Alright, now I'm going to refocus the camera. Alright, so I've moved down slightly here. I'm going to focus on, like I said, doing the shirt and all that. It does feel very odd doing this kind of this video, because I'm sat not far away from the drawing really, but compared to what I normally would be doing, I normally like to get in really close so I can see all the details and stuff like that. But and also I wouldn't have a camera in front of me, so I might have to sort of go about tweaking this setup. It's a bit awkward. Every time I get up, the chair leg ends up like knocking the tripod and stuff like that, which is a bit annoying. Microphone could probably be, not stuck to the camera as well. I'll have to see about that after this. But as I say, this is my first time doing this, so I'm not expecting it to be perfect from the get-go. This is very dark down here. I'm not even sure where the lines start. So yeah, I think that's my rule for this video is make your lines nice and visible and not too messy like me. It will pay dividends when you come to your inking and your colouring. Plus it means when you rub them out, there's not, it's not going to be as dirty, and not going to have these like smudges and stuff on it on the page. So that's gonna help you with your colouring as well. Also, you might notice being left-handed, I've had to switch the paper around so I don't have these like the ring bindings in the way. It's very annoying being left-handed when they make the paper like that. Which is why I normally buy the paper that opens up from the top, but this is just what I had available, and it was cheap as well, so I figured I'd get a load of it. So now I'm doing these bows over here. Kind of difficult to see where the lines are again. Although it's not really an integral part of the drawing. And that's something I wanted to talk about is where you actually start off, like where do you place your characters and your drawing and stuff like that, because as you can see with this one, I've placed it a little bit too far over the left, so I feel that it kind of cuts off a bit of the detail on the left. Not too much. There's just a little bit of a arm here in these bows, but that's something that is very important to think about when you start a drawing. You need to think, how much detail do you want to show of certain things, where the character should be placed, depending on how much you want to show. And also, I've started doing this thing where if it's like a person's head and shoulders, I'll normally flip the page the other way around, so I'm only doing it in this space here. Whilst if it's like a full body thing like this, I'll go for the full page, and that can be quite that can be helpful with getting your proportions right, because it looks kind of weird. I've done it a couple of times where you have the full page for someone's head, and they just have this this giant head that just looks kind of odd. And like I said, like proportions on the face end up getting stretched. People end up with like massive noses and ears and stuff like that. So that's something to think about when you're when you start a drawing. And so that's my sort of thought process behind it. If it's head and shoulders, go landscape. If it's full body, then I'll go portrait. So now I'm getting down to the bottom of the leg here, or I guess it's actually the top of the leg. So I won't do that yet. I'll do a bit more of the shirt here. This line needs to be. I mean, this line is more like a sort of shading line, really. I mean, when we get into the colours, this will be more defined. This area here on the actual drawing is one of them areas I was talking about where the you know, like the cure colour and the pro marker is going to mix very well with the Sharpie, because the shirt's this kind of orangey red, kind of vibrant and bright, and then the shading is like kind of, it's almost, I don't know, it's getting to like a point where it's very dark. It could probably do with some red and some grey actually, so I'll probably do a bit of that. Because something I didn't mention in the last video with the pro markers and the cure colour is, once they start getting a bit dry, you can get some different effects with them. And I find that they blend. You can do like these like blending techniques kind of easier with when they're drying out a bit. So we'll give that a go. Don't want to be getting too sort of hung up on these folds and these lines and stuff, but I'll put in a couple because I need the main thing with a lot of these drawings is where you don't put the color. Like these white highlights are very important, like especially on hair and stuff like that. They can really make a drawing and break a drawing as well. Like I did a drawing of Renji from Bleach a while ago, and I didn't put any white in his hair, and I don't know, it just looks really like weird, and I just think it looks a lot better when you get the highlights in. But I redid that one recently, and I think I put it in that last video. Not sure. A lot of you probably don't have a clue who or what I'm talking about, which is fine. Bleach isn't for everyone. Manga and anime isn't for everyone. Although I find it's interesting, people will say like, "Oh, do you like, do you like manga? Do you like anime?" It's like, well, that's not a genre of anything. That's just like a style. And like there's like shonen comics and stuff like that. And again, like that isn't really, it's not really a genre. Like, because shonen, it just means boys comic. And yeah, I always think of a good example would be like Bleach comparing it to Death Note, because they're both considered shonen comics, and they have like the kind of the very bare bones being similar of this, this supernatural being comes into the show or the comic or whatever, and gives the main character some kind of power. Like that's similar in both stories, but I mean they couldn't be really any more different. I mean, one's about you kind of monster of the day, Power Rangers sort of thing, or at least it starts off that way, and it's not very it's not too serious and stuff like that. And then you got Death Note, which is just it's very different. Much more dark, much more serious. So I like Bleach. It's just, I don't know. It's just good fun. But if you want a good story, read Death Note, watch Death Note. It's fantastic. Surprised there hasn't been like I don't know, some kind of like American Western adaptation of something, because it's very good. It kind of I was talking about this to a friend before. It kind of reminds me a little bit of some parts of Breaking Bad. You've got these bits where he has to work with the people that are trying to catch him, and that kind of happens in Breaking Bad as well, where you've got Walt, who his
his brother-in-law works for the DEA, and he's got to, like, he has to help him, but he kind of has to, like, not help him too much. And I just really like that. Like, I think that's a good like plot element. Not that Breaking Bad and Death Note or anything I like, but they've got that sort of similarity of, you know, being put in this position where they've got to help someone who's trying to stop them, and I think it's very interesting. So I've got most of the body done here, the back, the breast, stuff like that. Just gonna do a bit of the neck here. And obviously, like, if this was a male character, some of these male characters have such weird deformed necks. I guess it's kind of to make them look more muscular and to put the Adam's apple in, but some of them are just, I don't know, it's bizarre. Right, so I've got everything done here. I'm going to move on to the legs. I think with the arm and the cloth and stuff like that, I think I'm just going to do that in time-lapse so we can get on to the colouring. So I'm going to refocus the camera and we'll continue it from there. So yeah, onto the legs now. When I get on the colouring, it might be a little bit more focused on what I'm doing and drawing techniques and stuff, because, as I say, this has been there's been a little bit of stuff about what I'm doing, but it's mostly just been kind of rambling and stuff. But, there's not a whole lot to talk about when you're doing inking. It's just following lines and adding in a little bit of detail and stuff. I probably spent a little bit too much time on the that design thing on a shirt. I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, kind of kept rambling as I was doing it and just filling it in. But this is that's something I can mention as well. The pose that I've got here is slightly different from the one on the actual cover. I find that drawing heads the way that it is on the cover, kind of like almost looking down, is I find that to be quite difficult. So I just sort of pulled the head back a little bit, and I found that much easier to draw. And I've also got a leg here coming up a little bit more, and that means that I had to change the way that her calves and the rest of her leg were. As you can see, I made a little bit of a mistake here. I was kind of looking over to my right and then not following properly, but that's not going to make much of a difference. But yeah, her knee is kind of pointed up a little bit more than it is on the actual thing. And I made a calf here a little bit bigger because it looked a little bit kind of skinny in the actual drawing, considering she's supposed to be not muscular, but she's kind of like a stronger character. And also when you've got your, like, I was just like looking at my knee and not my knee, my legs when I was like in this kind of this position. And yeah, like the muscle and all that does tend to kind of, what would you call it, like pool or something at the top there. So yeah, I made that change. And it's something like that I do quite a lot when I'm doing these drawings, and I'm sure the people do as well. Like you change things slightly to either like fit your style or think, oh, like that doesn't look right, or like that like they should do this like that. Like I do that sometimes because obviously like I didn't create these characters, but sometimes I might like think like they look a bit weird, like they wouldn't look like that, or I don't know, a lot of the times I'll end up like changing their eyes or something like that. It's because sometimes they look a bit it doesn't really suit the character. Like they might look a bit like too happy or sad or something like that. And like I say also as well, like if you have difficulty drawing a certain thing, you can change it, because it's not like a drastic change. It's just a slight one that you probably wouldn't notice too much unless unless you were looking very hard, or like I told you. But yeah, it's not, like I said, it's not a big difference, and the overall drawing should be the same really. When I was first looking at this, like when I first did this drawing, I was like, her the quads and a hamstring here look very big, but you have to think this is looking like under a leg here, and then the side of a leg and a little bit of the top here. So once the shading and the highlights come in, that shouldn't look too weird. Again, probably didn't cross anyone else's mind, but that's just what I thought when I was drawing it. Again, like the smoke up here, I'm just going to kind of, these can be going anywhere. These, when you got things that are flowing like this, you don't want to be too, putting too much thought into it. You just want to like let them loose. So I'm going to leave all these lines and stuff because, as I say, once I put the colour down, then I can start going into the detail there. It's kind of like Mark really calls it like the polishing stage. So yeah, I'm going to do the top part of her arm in time lapse, and then we'll get on to the colouring. Alright, so that erasing took a lot longer than I thought it would actually. I'm just going to add this line here because it doesn't really go anywhere. And yeah, I think that's going to do it for this one. I've got all the inking done, and then we're ready to start colouring, but I think I'll do the colouring in a separate video, otherwise this is going to be like 30-40 minute video, and nobody wants to sit through that, I bet, and also that's going to take me a while to edit and upload and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll see you all next time. Hey there everyone, it's Craig again, and I'm back with another drawing video. Oh god. Oh, wonderful.